Hello, this is Michael once again for Wrestling Pops and the Deep Culture Podcast. Oh, I'll flip this hat around. I don't like it. Anyway, this is the 16th episode of Wrestling Pops, and I'm excited to be back talking about wrestling. A few weeks off. Thank you for bearing with me. If you came back after the couple week layoff, if not, well, I'll just keep doing this, and I hope you come back. Hope you're a new listener, whatever it may be. Just thanks for listening. But the past couple weeks coming out of spring break from work have been a little more difficult than anticipated. So I'm glad to be doing this again. Glad to be back. And this week I'd like to talk about my favorite AEW debuts. My favorite AEW debuts, the ones that I've enjoyed. And let me start by saying again, this is in no particular order. There are a lot of great debuts in wrestling. I get that. You have your own opinion. Please put those in the comments. Let me know if you think I missed one. But these are my personal favorite. And again, no particular order because I'm not looking to cause a debate. I don't want to do that. If you are listening and if you feel like you're that passionate enough to debate it. But I think the ones I've chosen are probably on a lot of people's lists. And again, it is strictly just AEW debuts, my favorite ones. Before I get into it, let me just shout out again the Deep Culture Podcast, the YouTube channel that this is on. If you are watching this here, make sure to go back and watch the three of us, Tanner, Danny, and myself, talking about random other things. We appreciate it, and I think you'd enjoy it. But before we get into the debuts, I would like to talk about AEW Dynamite this week and just kind of my thoughts going through it. I feel like AEW is making a comeback, so to speak. This is the April 19th edition of Dynamite, and I was pretty hyped to see this. There are a couple things that particularly interested me, like for instance, like Jay White wrestling. I wanted to see that. That was something that I tuned in for. The Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club. That story was something I was looking forward to see progressing. And it took a little turn there, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then weirdly, I see a lot of people hating on the Outcast storyline. I get it, I understand, maybe, but for me, at least, it's something, and it's something that I'm glad they're doing because again, it's getting the women on TV. So let's start, and we're doing pops and flops. I'm doing pops and flops right here, but I'm just going through the list because the first segment I want to start off. The first segment, oh my gosh, it was so cringy. That was a massive flop for me. And again, I'm not trying to be negative. There are off nights, but the whole thing just didn't work for me. And it just didn't work. And there were a couple moments where I was, throughout all these, let's go back for a second. Throughout all the promos, throughout the weeks with the 4-pillar segments, Darby has really been impressing me. Darby does a lot of crazy stuff in the ring, but on the mic he was doing pretty well. Jungle Boy and Sammy, they are what they are. And this week, just all three of them just, I don't know, just sounded almost like complainers. Maybe that's just me. But if you're gonna have someone go up against MJF, I don't think the tone is like, oh, well, you got everything you want. Like they were pulling that at Jungle Boy. Oh, hey, you got it handed to you. All that stuff. I don't know. I didn't like that one. I think it's hilarious that the Sammy thing, like the Sammy heat is real. Like people just don't want to cheer for him. And he's very good in the ring, but it's obvious. And Jungle Boy, he's very good as well. It just the whole promo, it just didn't work. It just didn't work for me. Just not overly excited about that. I also the tournament idea, I don't like that either. That was a flop for me. It's very disappointing. I think if you're gonna do a 4 pillars, you have to actually do it. You don't just do a one-on-one. So I'm hoping that's a swerve. I'm hoping something else happens. And if not, based on what we see later in the show, I would have to think. I mean, it would have to be I don't know. Would they wouldn't do Sammy versus MJF at the pay-per-view, but they could, I guess. I don't know. I just have a feeling it's still going to turn out to be a Four Pillars thing. And I hope so. If I'm wrong, if they actually go through with the tournament, it is what it is. But that just was a miss for me. It was kind of underwhelming. The match after that, the women's match, the Outcasts versus Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker. Good match, obviously in Pittsburgh. Baker getting the crowd fired up, and a good match. I thought it was a good way to really kickstart the action. To come back from the promo, I thought it was good, and I think I'm excited to see where this goes. I think this women's storyline, there are multiple avenues they can take, and I'm really excited to see what is the final outcome. So, a lot there to unpack. I know a segment later gets a lot of hate, but is what it is. I personally thought the women's match was a pop for me. I enjoyed that one. Wardlow, his interview, the pop there was Arn. Obviously, seeing Arn Anderson, who is just famous for pulling a fictional gun on Cody Rhodes, so to speak. Fictional. I want to point that out. Fictional. Like if you watch that promo and that meme and of Arn, you know what I mean. But Arn is back. That was cool to see. Another pop, the Elite, doing their promo, talking about the BCC. And then, of course, they get blindsided. This is by far one of the top things in AEW for me. And the Elite always are. So I don't want to make it seem like that this is like an outlier. And it really shouldn't be because, again, all the people involved, even if you're not a fan of the Elite, I'm sure you probably like Moxley or Danielson or Claudio. I don't know about Wheeler. Maybe you like Wheeler. Maybe. I like Wheeler, but not as much as the other guys. So, this whole thing was really good. The interesting turn and the fascinating thing, and I wonder where it's going to go from here again, because you have to think Hangman is going to be involved. But Takeshita, Don Callis bringing Takeshita down to help out Kenny and the Elite. Cool little twist there. Obviously, there are ties with Kenny and Takeshita, but it doesn't overly fit. Again, everybody's like thinking, okay, it's got to be Hangman, right? Nope, someone else. So, interesting there. I'm excited to see that. I see they're tagging this week, and I hope they really play that up. I think I really like Takeshita as well, so that element, that was good for me too. Surprise for me, but not really surprised, the TNT Championship match, Hobbs and Wardlow. I don't know why that surprised me so much, and for me, I have this as a flop. Not because I think they did a bad job, but the TNT Championship, for whatever reason, has just really cooled down. And some would say it's Wardlow. I would say it's not so much Wardlow, but the positions he was in. I think the Samoa Joe thing, it kind of brought it back. But even then, there's a lot. I don't know. I really can't put a pinpoint on it. I don't want to put any blame on it because I really like Wardlow too. But even though there's a new champion, that was a cool moment. Cool for Wardlow. It made a point to say he has like Pittsburgh ties. Just didn't do it for me. Interviewing Sammy, I'm gonna be honest, I skipped that. Switchblade and Commander. That was a cool match. And yeah, I liked the Jay White match. I thought it was good. I saw again people were the move off the top with Commander. Whatever. Like why are wrestling fans sometimes? And if you're listening to this and you're like this, sorry. And I don't want to be negative because at the start of the show, like the very first one, I said I want to be positive, but like I saw a meme where it was comparing like the Undertaker's old school to that move Commander did. Like when did we stop thinking wrestling was fun? Like why can't you have fun? I just think that's goofy. Whatever. Like I don't know. I like that match. It introduced Jay White a little bit more, saw him in the ring, and that's cool with me. FTR, Cash, their interview leading to the match on Rampage. Chris Jericho, Adam Cole, that segment for me was pretty well done. I saw a lot of people complain about it. I liked it. I thought it was good. I understand it's the WWE element, and people were like, please don't do that. But why not? Like, why not? Again, you complain about women being involved, and now they're doing something with them. Okay, like just get over it. I guess I don't know. I liked it. I understand. Like the handcuff thing did look bad with Adam Cole. It looked like he could obviously have got out of that situation. But who cares? We're gonna see Adam Cole. We're gonna see Chris Jericho. You're gonna see Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and the other outcasts. And again, there's so many avenues with the women's storyline this could go. The Jericho Adam Cole thing that's seemingly like we know that's what's gonna happen there in a sense, but the women's stuff I don't understand why it's such a problem. The Acclaimed match, I'm honestly gonna skip over that. That was a massive flop for me. I skipped through that one. Excuse me, not because I dislike any of them. It just seemed like it was a bunch of nonsense, and at that moment in time, I just didn't want to watch it. Again, not knocking it. I'm sure it was great for what it was, but I just didn't watch it. So, and then the main event, Sammy getting help with MJF. Again, see that a flop for me. Just did not think it was. Just questioning the tournament. Like, what is going on with the tournament? Why don't just do the 4 pillars? Like, if you're gonna do it, just do it. I don't think you need to do this tournament nonsense. Just doesn't really add anything for me. It just doesn't. So, AEW Dynamite, isn't it? This episode was okay. There were some good spots. There were some spots that had me questioning. We are coming up on Double or Nothing, fairly soon, so we're gonna definitely be heating up, and I'm looking forward to that. And still, Dynamite's doing better than it was a few months ago, so I'm excited to see again what happens at the pay-per-view. Now, next, I want to talk about my favorite AEW debuts of all time, and I want to talk about again in no particular order. I want to talk about the ones that made me the most excited, the most hyped for the product, for the wrestler, everything. Kind of have that like goosebump moment. Like these ones had that for me. And I wonder how many of these, if you guys had as well. So the first one I want to talk about, the first AEW moment, that debut, would have to be Claudio's. Again, not first as in like this is the top. This is the first one I'm talking about. Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door, I think, had a little bit of bad luck going into it last summer. I was so hyped for this, thinking of this pay-per-view. I live in West Virginia. I wanted to buy tickets, and I just didn't get in the thing quick enough. And then everything after that was scalped, or in the nosebleeds. And I think the day before there were some cheap nosebleed seats, but it was too late at that point for us to make that decision. And Forbidden Door, again, not just that's the side story, but Forbidden Door, there was some bad luck, there were some injuries. Obviously, Kenny wasn't there. Adam Cole was banged up going into it. CM Punk out. Danielson out. On the AEW side, a lot of the people for the dream matches with New Japan and AEW, a lot of the people on the AEW side weren't there, I think, and that it was a big hole to fill. So I felt like this debut was just very fitting because it was exciting. I remember, I don't know, like Cesaro in WWE, obviously someone who's criminally underrated by the company, not so much by the fans, but they never just got it right with him. And even in AEW, Claudio now, he looks huge compared to all those other guys. He's huge, and he hits hard. The dude rules. Like, he's awesome. And when he came out in Chicago at Forbidden Door, there was just like sheer happiness, because at this point it was like, man, this guy's really like, I'm watching it now, and he just comes out and everybody's like pumped, like, yeah, this guy's finally gonna get to wrestle. He's gonna get his flowers finally. Wrestling Zack Sabre, I believe. It's just a cool moment, and I think Claudio's lived up to the hype in AEW, and I think that's why this is a goosebump moment for me, because the sky is still the limit. I think, he's with Moxley right now. He's with Danielson. He's the ROH champion, and who knows, maybe he does win the AEW championship. I would believe it. I think so. So that one for me is a moment that I was maybe pumped about AEW, and a debut that I think sometimes gets lost in the shuffle. Next one I want to talk about. This one people saw coming. Like, people thought, okay, he's gonna come to AEW, but still, no one knew it was gonna be at that time and how it was gonna happen. So, All Out, right? All Out, 2021. It's the same one that Punk wrestled for the first time. Adam Cole, his debut. That debut got, I think, a little bit overshadowed at the time, because everyone was people were more prepared to see Danielson. Like, that one, it was like, okay, we are going to see Danielson here, which he shows up a few minutes later. But the Adam Cole one, there was still a little bit of questions. Like, has he signed to AEW? Like, there were good chances. Obviously, Britt is working for AEW, so yeah, hey, he's probably going to sign. But man, he showed up. Kenny cuts a promo after beating Christian, and then boom, the lights go out. Who's going to show up? Who's going to take on Kenny? Well, Adam Cole shows up, and man, the place loses it. I was so pumped for that. That debut was extremely well done. It was a little swervy, because, again, you thought it was going to be Danielson at that moment right there. It turns out to be Adam Cole. So then he gets into the ring, and you're thinking, oh crap, is Adam Cole going to try to take on Kenny? Nope. Just kidding. They're friends. And then that's when the Danielson debut pops up. But man, that was so well done. I really like that. Adam Cole, he's the man as well. So Adam Cole's debut is on my favorites list for debuts in AEW. The next three, I don't think, without a question, I think these are some of the most well done debuts in wrestling, period. The next one I want to talk about, Jon Moxley, Double or Nothing, 2019. So Jericho's cutting a promo after beating Kenny. Moves on to the world title match to crown the first champion. Then boom, all of a sudden, here, who is that in the crowd? And the call for JR. I think this is one of his like great calls in AEW. You could sense the excitement. The crowd's going nuts, and JR captured that moment pretty well. A little bit of an awkward period when he gets in the ring with Jericho, but then he just drops him on his head. So Moxley's debut for me is one of the more notable ones, because it was like a holy crap, AEW is here. This is their first pay-per-view, and man, he's here. And then after that, after he takes out Jericho, then he takes out Omega. Him and Omega brawl into the crowd, and that feud definitely set the tone for AEW that first and second year. And I really think that's a feud that, when you look back on like the history of AEW in so many years' time, you look at the Moxley Omega feud. I think that's a feud that needed to happen right off the bat, and it was so well done for Moxley. I think it made Moxley even bigger, and really, I think Omega fighting the more hardcore style, not just the the flat out like wrestling match. So well done, and it added an element to each of those guys, and I look forward to seeing that with the Elite and the combat, the Blackpool Combat, the Blackpool Combat, the Blackpool Combat Club. Jeez. Anyway, I look forward to that. Next one, after Moxley's debut, a no-brainer, one of the no-brainer, absolutely, the first dance, CM Punk. It's coming back, right? Like he has to be coming back. Like they've hinted it. This new AEW show that's popping up, but the Rampage. I was at the first Rampage when Omega lost to Christian in Pittsburgh, and that was such a cool moment. Knowing the next week probably what was going to happen, the excitement I felt for wrestling was huge. And this building in Chicago, I'm trying to think like buildings that have been louder. I really I don't know. Like when you watch back old Stone Cold stuff, like some of those buildings were like extremely loud, and I still think that might have an edge. But like just a 20,000 seat arena being this nuts. And what was crazy, what was this Rampage essentially was just CM Punk just showing up. I think there were two wrestling matches after that. Maybe that was it. Um, but he just shows up and soaks it in. And this is such a surreal moment. I think Taz on commentary was even like, "Whoa," like "Whoa," and he was like, "What is that?" Like they could feel it. Like it was just, it's still like looking back on a year and a half later, it's still one of the coolest moments in wrestling history. And really, I hope he does come back. I think it would be good for wrestling. I know others don't agree. I'm more of a fan. I will say, um, I've never been like the biggest CM Punk fan. Doesn't mean I dislike him, but like he was never like my favorite wrestler. But still, like there's no doubt about it. Like there's emotion and energy in that arena. So I'm 2 minutes into this video, and he's like halfway down the ramp, and people are still losing their minds with this debut. Just such a cool feeling. And it led to that guy, the meme of that guy crying, which I hope he took it well. I hope when I say he took it well, I hope he like actually likes that moment now. I know some people were ripping on him, but it was just so emotional. Like it was such an emotional moment. So cool thing. The CM Punk debut was a moment where my friends and I, were texting about wrestling. Like how often does that happen? It's like, oh crap, like that was awesome. The last debut I want to talk about, though, my personal favorite. I will say this is my personal favorite. I didn't want to put a ranking on it. This is my personal favorite. Um, so this is on a Dynamite. Winter is coming. I believe this is the episode Kenny wins the title from Moxley. And all of a sudden, Team Taz beating up Cody, Dustin, and Darby. And there's this very long intro. I should have known who this was, but this long video, there's snow falling. The music is very like, dum, 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 like very Sting like. And then all of a sudden, boom, on the screen, it's Sting. Like Schiavone's losing his mind. Oh, this is Sting is here. And it's such a cool moment. And he walks through the tunnel, and I gotta say, my first favorite wrestler ever was Sting. Like forever, my first favorite wrestler was Sting from WCW, and he just walks through the curtain, and I just feel like a little kid again. Pulls the bat out, and what's crazy is this dude's 60 years old. I legit just because of wrestling, I think, okay, he's gonna beat the crap out of all these guys. Um, that's not the cool part about it. Like that debut was cool. This is a pandemic episode, but the coolest part of this debut was the storytelling. Once he gets to the ring, he walks through the ropes. First person he looks at is as Arn, and all the battles he's had with Arn. I think it's mentioned. I think one of them say that. Probably JR, I believe, says that. He looks at it, he kind of does the little up and down, and then, all right, done looking at you, Arn. I've seen you enough. Sting. He then walks over to the other corner. He looks at Dustin. Almost done like a I don't know. He just the body language, like storytelling is very well. Like, but you get this vibe of it's like, I don't know about you. And then he goes down to Cody. He's on one knee. He's looking right at Cody. They're playing up the fact that this was Cody's favorite wrestler. And Sting is just like, nah, not you either, Cody. And then he walks to the other corner, and there's Darby. And this is just such a cool moment. But he looks at Darby, and the camera job was so good too. But he corners him, and Sting with his face painted, he looks at the side with no paint. Darby's just staring him down. And then Sting just goes to the other side. He's like, looks at the other side with the face paint. It was just such a cool moment. My favorite by far still. And that was a great episode of Dynamite. All around, the first winter is coming was amazing. Still, looking back on that, I'd watch that episode multiple times again. So, AEW, great at debuts. There were some I definitely left off the list. But those are my personal favorites so far in AEW's history. So if you have any that I missed, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see it in the comments, read about it, and be like, oh crap, you're right, I missed that one. But I wonder who's next. Wonder which AEW superstar might be returning or might be debuting for the first time. So look forward to that. And look forward to future episodes of Wrestling Pops. Hopefully getting back on the weekly trail here. And thank you for sticking, coming back, listening, watching, whatever it may be. So that is it for me this week on Wrestling Pops. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.